All right. My dad's a plumber and a high school dropout. According to every single statistic I found online, he was doomed the day he decided to leave high school. But he's perfectly successful in life. He's got a wife and 3 kids, a nice household, and he owns his own plumbing company. This is him and the 2 men that he did his plumbing apprenticeship with. His apprenticeship changed the course of his life entirely. Before it, he was just a lost teenager and he didn't know what he wanted to do with his life. And with his plumbing apprenticeship, he was able to steer his life in a direction that he didn't necessarily think was for him at first. Now, he did his apprenticeship in the 1980s in a small town in New Zealand, so unfortunately there was no vocational education offered to him in school. And you'd actually be surprised, however, that even in America today, there are no vocational education programs offered in many high schools. This is alarming considering that 12% of students drop out of high school in America annually, according to the National Center for Statistics. To begin, among students who do not plan on going to college, the ones who strike the right balance of vocational and academic education are more likely to graduate. This is huge because a third of high school dropouts drop out because they want to leave school for work. If we can teach these kids that training for a specific job after high school will actually make them earn way more money in the long run, we can decrease the statistic. According to Cornell University, if training related to the job is obtained, monthly earnings raise 7 to 8%, unemployment is reduced substantially, and the labor force participation is more consistent. This means that if we can train kids while they're still in school getting an academic education, that their opportunities will just expand after high school. Now, for students who are looking to enter the workforce after high school, confidence is key to their success. Oftentimes, there's a stigma that if you don't go to college, you might not be successful at life. So kids need to know that it's okay to not go to college and that you can end up successful. This is shown with this man right here. His name is Bruce McGann. He's on the left. He was my dad's mentor, and he was just like my dad. He was a plumber, and he turned his plumbing career into a multi-million-dollar company, and he donates like millions of dollars a year to other apprenticeship programs. And basically, he was my dad's role model because my dad saw that, okay, plumber, millionaire don't really usually go hand in hand, but it can happen. Additionally, you need to know the skills like the back of your hand in order to be confident that you can do a job correctly. According to the Oxford Skills and Success Handbook, vocational training and apprenticeships are linked to high confidence and self-esteem, improved health, higher citizen participation, and high job satisfaction. Teaching kids that they can be successful after high school by doing things with their hands and not necessarily burying themselves in student loans is very beneficial to their personal life and their professional life. Despite evidence that suggests how successful apprenticeships can be, lawmakers see the curriculum of tech courses as kind of hard to apply to a job, and this is because there's a lack of funding. Lack of funding means that there's less advanced equipment and that instructors aren't necessarily professionals in their fields. However, there's a solution to this. In Canada and in China, there are lists of 30,000 countries that schools are able to work with and send their kids to work for. And this makes it easier for kids to reach out to companies, and they actually get a grade for going to their apprenticeships, so it kind of like motivates them to stay in school as well. Now, I asked my dad, I emailed him after when I was doing this speech, and I asked him if he would ever take on a high school apprentice, and his response was hell yes. He's been trying to for the past 5 years, but the schools don't see it as a priority, so whenever he or his network of friends, of contractors and electricians and welders reach out, the schools don't really see it as important, and so they just kind of sweep him to the side. Now, for a topic closer to my heart, special education students completely benefit from vocational education. Oh, okay. I want to be a special ed teacher because I want to help kids after high school make a living for themselves and be able to support themselves without having to rely on care or their parents. And believe it or not, many kids with disabilities are very capable of holding a job and paying their own rent, but the public school system kind of fails them in a way because they don't find their strengths and capitalize off their strengths to teach them ways to work in a workforce effectively. Now, only 1/4 of kids with disabilities will graduate high school because kids aren't recognizing these strengths, and I think that vocational education in schools would fix that tremendously. A good example is this man. His name is Mason Cottle, and he has autism. And through his high school, he was able to work at a grocery store, pretty simple, and he worked in the bakery doing dishes. And he got to watch the bakers do their thing, and it inspired him to create a bakery out of his own home. And now he's a very successful businessman, and he caters all kinds of fancy events with his pastries. In 2010, the Population Labor Bureau reported that labor force makes up 51% of the working population. But according to my dad, we're facing a shortage of skilled and knowledgeable workers, so we're forced to start from scratch when we get new hires. National, state, or even local vocational systems should be implemented because unemployment rates will drop, along with dropout rates, and income and satisfaction with jobs will also increase. While we're in college, we're all in college today, we might not be headed down this path ourselves, but blue collar and the labor force make up a huge part of our community, and they make our lives much, much better. So we need to learn to appreciate them and train them the right way so that we can keep having things like plumbers and electricians, and we won't have that thing where like a plumber comes into your house and messes everything up and then you have to pay more money to get it fixed. So we need to start normalizing the idea that college is not necessarily for everyone. And to remember this, I'm going to leave you with a quote from Bill Gates. He said, "If you give people tools and they use their natural ability and their curiosity, they will develop things in ways that will surprise you very much beyond what you might have expected."